However, King Ebeko had been making her do things she did not want to do and threatened her. He told her that if she dared to tell anyone, he would harm her seriously. Because of fear, Oledo kept quiet. She had no one but her mother, who was a poor widow, and she could not bear the thought of anything happening to her mother. In a big and rich community called Umunze in the eastern part of Nigeria, there lived a young king named King Ebeko. Umunze was a place full of lush green fields, tall trees, and sparkling rivers. The people of Umunze were happy and hardworking, and they loved their new king. King Ebeko was the only son of Ebeko the First, who was a very wise and brave king. When King Ebeko the First passed away, the people of Umunze were very sad, but they knew that his son King Ebeko would make a great king just like his father. They believed in him and trusted him to lead their kingdom well. On the day King Ebeko was crowned, the whole kingdom came to celebrate. There was dancing, singing, and a lot of food. The people wore their best clothes, and everyone had smiles on their face. The air was filled with joy and excitement. King Ebeko was married to a beautiful woman named Lolo Agnes. She was kind, gentle, and always had a warm smile. The people of Umuze loved her too because she was the wife of the king. Everyone called her Lolo, which means queen. Lolo Agnes and King Ebeko loved each other very much. They were always seen together, walking hand in hand through the palace gardens or sitting side by side during meetings. One morning, as the sun was rising, King Ebeko and Lolo Agnes were having breakfast in their grand dining room. The room was decorated with beautiful carvings and paintings that told the stories of their ancestors. "My dear Lolo," King Ebeko said with a smile, "today I want to visit the marketplace and talk to our people." Lolo Agnes looked at him with love in her eyes. "That is a wonderful idea, my king. The people will be so happy to see you." And so, after their breakfast, they got ready to visit the marketplace. The marketplace in Umunzi was a busy and colorful place. People sold fruits, vegetables, clothes, and many other things. There were children running around and playing, and the air was filled with the sounds of laughter and chatter. When King Ebeko and Lolo Agnes arrived, the people gathered around them. They bowed and greeted their king and queen with respect and admiration. "Good morning, my people," King Ebeko said in a loud but gentle voice. "How are you all today?" "We are all well, my king," the people replied happily. King Ebeko walked through the marketplace, talking to the sellers and buyers. He asked them how their businesses were going and if they needed any help. Lolo Agnes talked to the women and children, listening to their stories and laughing with them. One of the elders, an old man with a long white beard, approached King Ebeko. "Your father would be very proud of you," he said. "You are a wise and kind king, just like him." "Thank you," King Ebeko replied. "I learned from the best." As the day went on, King Ebeko and Lolo Agnes continued to talk to their people. They listened to their concerns and promised to help them. The people of Umunzi felt very lucky to have such a caring rulers. When it was time to leave, the people waved goodbye to their king and queen. "Come back soon, my king," a little boy shouted, waving his hand excitedly. King Ebeko smiled and waved back. "I will, my boy, I promise." As they returned to the palace, King Ebeko and Lolo Agnes talked about their day. "Our people are very happy," Lolo Agnes said. "They love you so much." "And I love them," King Ebeko replied. "We must always take care of them and make sure they are happy." Back in the palace, they sat together in the garden, watching the sunset. The sky turned orange and pink, and the birds sang their evening songs. King Ebeko held Lolo Agnes's hand and smiled. They knew that as long as they ruled with wisdom and love, Umunze would continue to be a happy and prosperous kingdom. The sun set and the stars began to twinkle in the sky. The king and queen sat quietly, enjoying the peaceful evening. They were content knowing that they were doing their best for their people and for each other. In the big and rich community of Omunze, King Ebeko and Lolo Agnes ruled their kingdom with wisdom and oneness, just as they always dreamed of. As time went on, Lolo became pregnant, and the king beamed with pride as he doted on his wife. The news of the queen's pregnancy spread joy throughout the kingdom of Umunze. The people celebrated and sang songs of happiness, knowing that their beloved king and queen were about to bring a new life into the world. King Ebeko and Queen Agnes had already agreed that she would have their baby abroad. They believed it would be the best for her to give birth in the United Kingdom, where she could receive the best medical care. As her due date approached, they started making preparations for Lolo to travel to the UK. The palace was buzzing with activity as they packed her bags and made sure everything was ready for the travel. But there was something Lolo and the villagers never knew about the king. King Ebeko was not really whom he portrayed to be. All that while, the king had been treating a young maid in the palace named Oledo unfairly. He kept on taking advantage of the young girl. She was a sweet and kind girl who always did her work diligently. However, King Ebeko had been making her do things she did not want to do and threatened her. He told her that if she dared to tell anyone, he would harm her seriously. Because of fear, Oledo kept quiet. She had no one but her mother, who was a poor widow, and she could not bear the thought of anything happening to her mother. One evening, as the preparations for Lolo's trip were in full swing, King Ebeko sat with Lolo in their garden. "My dear, are you excited about the journey?" he asked, holding her hand. "Yes, my king," Lolo replied, smiling. "I am a little bit nervous, but I know everything will be fine." "Of course, it will," King Ebeko said, kissing her hand. "You and our baby will be safe and well cared for." After a few months, Queen Agnes traveled overseas, and the king visited her from time to time. In one of the king's visits to the UK, his wife gave birth to a bouncing baby boy whom they named Okena. The news of the birth brought immense joy to Umunze. The people danced and celebrated, sending their blessings and good wishes to the royal family. But back in Umunze, Oledo discovered that she was pregnant. The pregnancy belonged to King Ebeko. Oledo became so scared and didn't know what to do about it. She was alone, with no one to turn to for help or advice. Every day, she walked in the palace, her heart heavy with worry and fear. Finally, when the king returned from one of his visits, Oledo gathered all her courage and decided to tell him about the pregnancy. She found him in his study, looking over some important documents. "Your Majesty," she said quietly. King Ebeko looked up and frowned. "What is it, Oledo?" "My king," she began, her voice trembling. "I am going to have a baby." "The baby is yours. I mean, I am pregnant." The king's face darkened. "What nonsense are you talking about?" he snapped. "It is true, my king," Oledo said, tears streaming down her face. "I cannot hide it anymore." King Ebeko stood up and walked towards her, his expression cold. "You must find a way to take care of it," he said harshly. "I cannot have this affecting my life. I love my wife too much." Oledo felt her heart shatter. "But my king, what will I do? I cannot handle this alone." "That is none of my business," King Ebeko replied, his voice like ice. "You will do as I say." Oledo was left standing there, feeling utterly broken and alone. She didn't know what to do or where to go. Her heart ached with sadness and despair. The once happy and hardworking girl now felt lost and afraid, with no one to turn to for help. She spent her days in sorrow, trying to find a way out of her predicament. The palace that once felt like home now seemed like a prison, and Oledo's future looked bleak. The weight of her secret grew heavier each day, and she prayed for a miracle to save her from her misery. And so, the shadow of the king's dark secret loomed over the palace, hidden from the joyous people of Umunze, who remained blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within the palace walls. Days later, Oledo received devastating news. Her mother had been involved in a car accident while coming back from Onitsha main market, where she had gone to buy some goods for her shop. Oledo's heart sank, and she immediately rushed to the hospital where her mother was taken. When she arrived at the hospital, she was met with the worst news of her life. Her mother had passed away before she could get there. Oledo's world turned upside down at that moment. Her mind became blank, unable to think of anything. She cried uncontrollably as people in the hospital and some of her family members tried to console her. Why did this happen to me? Oledo sobbed, clutching a handkerchief. She was all I had. We are so sorry for your loss, Oledo, a kind nurse said, gently patting her back. Please try to be strong. After her mother's passing, the village held burial ceremony. It was a sad event, filled with tears and mourning. Oledo stood by her mother's grave, feeling more alone than ever. She decided to stay back at her father's house to give birth and look after the household. But life was not easy for her. She faced ridicule and gossip from the villagers and even from her own family members. They all abandoned her and never came close to her. Oledo, you should have been more careful, one relative whispered harshly. Look at the mess you are in now. She brought this upon herself, another villager murmured. What will become of her and the baby? Oledo felt the sting of their words but tried to stay strong. She knew she had to survive for her unborn child. After 9 months, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She named her Adako, which means daughter of wealth, because she knew her daughter was royalty, even if others didn't see it. Holding Adako in her arms for the first time, Oledo whispered, You are my precious Adako. I promise to take care of you and give you a good life. After some months, Oledo used the money she had saved while working at the palace to start a small food business by the village roadside. Every day, she would wake up early to prepare meals to sell. She cooked with love, hoping to make enough money to provide for Adako. One morning, a villager stopped by her stand. Your food smells wonderful, Oledo. I'll take a plate of rice and stew. Thank you, Oledo replied with a smile. She served the food carefully, making sure it was just right. Despite her hard work, Oledo faced many challenges. People still gossiped about her, and many men who showed interest in her walked away once they found out she was a single mother. Oledo, you are a good woman, one man said, but I can't marry you. It's too complicated with a child. Each time this happened, Oledo felt sad, but she refused to let it break her spirit. I don't need a man to make me strong, she told herself. All that matters is Adako. One evening, as the sun set, Oledo sat with Adako on her lap. My dear Adako, she said softly, you are my everything. I will work hard to give you a better future and life. Adako giggled and reached for her mother's face, her tiny hands touching Oledo's cheeks. Oledo smiled, feeling a sense of hope and determination. She knew that life would not be easy, but she was ready to face any challenge for her daughter. As the days passed, Oledo's business began to grow. People came to love her food and admired her dedication. Oledo, your food is the best in the village, a customer praised. You should be proud of yourself. Thank you, Oledo replied humbly. I am just trying to do my best. Oledo's hard work and love for Adako paid off. She was able to provide for her daughter and herself. Despite the obstacles she faced, She knew that she had to stay strong and keep moving forward no matter what people said or did. And so, Oledo continued to live her life with courage and determination. She taught Adako the value of strength, resilience, and love. Together, they faced the world, knowing that they had each other. Oledo promised herself that she would give Adako a good life, a better future, filled with hope and opportunities. She worked tirelessly to fulfill that promises, driven by her love for her daughter and her desire to create a better life for the both of them. At the palace, King Ebeko was living his best life. He ruled his kingdom with confidence, often forgetting about his past and the child he had somewhere. The king's wife, Queen Agnes, was still abroad, and they were planning to come back when their son, Prince Okena, turned 25 years old. King Ebeko enjoyed his life, focusing on his duties and the well-being of his people. Meanwhile, in the village, Oledo and her daughter Adako were well known because of their delicious meal. Oledo was able to send Adako to the university. She was a hardworking and loving mother, determined to give her daughter the best life possible. One sunny afternoon, Oledo was busy at her kiosk, serving a pot of jollof rice. A customer approached her smiling. Oledo, your food is the best in the village. I will have a plate of jollof rice and chicken, please. Thank you so much, Oledo replied with a warm smile, serving the food. I'm glad you enjoy it. Adako, who had come home from the university for a visit, was helping her mother. She admired her mother's dedication and wanted to make her proud. Mama, let me help you with that, she said, taking a plate to serve another customer. You are such a big help, Adako, Oledo said, beaming with pride. I am so proud of you. Adako smiled, feeling happy to support her mother. She worked hard in school, always thinking of how much her mother had sacrificed for her. Mama, I will make you proud. I promise, Adako said. Back at the palace, people sometimes ask the king about Oledo. One evening, during a phone call with Queen Agnes, she brought it up. My king, what happened to Oledo after her mother's passing? She asked curiously. King Ebeku hesitated for a moment before replying. She stopped working at the palace after her mother passed away. She wanted to take care of her family. He lied smoothly. Oh, I see, Queen Agnes said, sounding satisfied with the answer. By the way, our son is doing well. We are planning to come back to Nigeria by the end of the year once he graduates and turns 25. This is wonderful news, King Ebeko exclaimed, feeling a rush of happiness. I can't wait to have you both back here. We will make all the necessary arrangements for your return. The thought of having his family back in Nigeria filled the king with joy. He began making plans for their return, ensuring everything would be perfect for their arrival. Meanwhile, Oledo continued to work harder at her food shop. She enjoyed cooking and seeing the smiles on her customers' faces. One day, a group of villagers gathered around her shop excitedly. Did you hear? The king's wife and son are coming back soon, one villager said. Yes, I heard. They will return once the prince graduates and turns 25, another one added. Oledo listened quietly, her heart heavy with memories of her time at the palace. She wondered if the king ever thought about her or her child. But she quickly pushed those thoughts away, focusing on her work and her daughter. Adako, who overheard the conversation, looked at her mother with concern. Mama, are you alright? She asked gently. I'm fine, my dear, Oledo replied, forcing a smile. We have each other and that's all that matters. As the months passed, Oledo and Adako continued their routine. Adako excelled in her studies, always striving to make her mother proud. Oledo's business thrived, and she felt a sense of accomplishment knowing she had built a good life for herself and her daughter. One evening, as they sat together after a long day, Adako said, Mama, I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. You are the best mother anyone could ask for. Tears welled up in Oledo's eyes. Oh, Adako, you are my joy and my pride. I am so proud of the young woman you have become. They hugged tightly, feeling the strong bond between them. Oledo knew that no matter what challenges they faced, they would always have each other. She was determined to give Adako the best of life. As the end of the year approached, the palace buzzed with excitement about the return of the queen and the prince. King Ebeko eagerly awaited their arrival, making sure everything was in order. But in the village, Oledo and Adako quietly went about their lives, unaware of the changes that were coming. They continued to work hard and support each other, finding strength in the love and determination. Weeks later, the queen and the prince returned from the abroad, and the whole kingdom of Umuze was buzzing with excitement. The prince had grown into a fine young man, educated and wise, ready to take on his duties. The people of Umuze were proud of their prince and eager to see him back in their midst. One sunny afternoon, feeling curious about the village, Prince Okenwa decided to explore. He wandered down the village roads, enjoying the sights and sounds of everyday life. The marketplace was bustling with activities. Children were playing, and the air was filled with the smell of freshly cooked food. As he walked, he noticed a small food kiosk by the roadside. The aroma of the delicious food wafted through the air, drawing him closer. This was Olido's kiosk, where she sold her famous meals. "Good afternoon," Okenwa greeted, smiling warmly. "Good afternoon," Adako replied, looking up from her walk. She was Olido's daughter, a beautiful young woman with a kind smile. "What would you like to eat?" "I will have a plate of jollof rice and chicken, please," Okenwa said, sitting down at one of the small tables. Adako served the food with a friendly smile. "Here you go. I hope you enjoy it." As Okenwa ate, he couldn't help but notice how hard Adako worked and how cheerful she was. They started talking, and soon they were chatting like old friends. "My name is Okenwa," he introduced himself. "I am Adako," she replied. "It's nice to meet you." "So how long have you been helping your mother here?" Okenwa asked, taking a bite of his food. "I've been helping her for as long as I can remember," Adako said. "She works very hard, and I want to do my own part." "That's very admirable," Okenwa said. "Your mother must be very proud of you." "She is," Adako replied, smiling. "And I am proud of her too. She has done so much for me." They spent the afternoon talking and laughing. Okenwa found Adako's company delightful and refreshing. He learned about her dreams and aspirations, and she listened intently as he spoke about his time abroad and his plans for the future. Before he left, he promised to come back soon. "I've enjoyed our conversation, Adako, and I hope to see you again." "Me too, Okenwa," Adako said, waving as he walked away. Days turned into weeks, and Okenwa and Adako became good friends. They enjoyed each other's company, often spending time together. They went for walks around the village, visited the market, and shared stories about their lives. They talked about their dreams and hopes, and their bond grew stronger. One day, as they sat under a large tree near the river, Okenwa turned to Adako and said, "You know, I feel very comfortable around you. It's like I've known you forever." Adako smiled. "I feel the same way, Okenwa. You are very easy to talk to." They watched the river flow by, feeling a sense of peace and contentment. Adako told Okenwa about her dream of becoming a teacher. "I want to help children learn and grow," she said. "I think education is very important." "That's a wonderful dream, Adako," Okenwa said. "I'm sure you will be a great teacher." "And what about you, Okenwa? What are your dreams?" Adako asked. "I want to make a difference in our community," Okenwa replied. "I want to help our people and make Umunze a better place for everyone." "You will be a great leader," Adako said, her eyes shining with admiration. Their friendship continued to grow, and they became inseparable. They supported each other and shared their joys and sorrows. Okenwa appreciated Adako's kindness and strength, and Adako admired Okenwa's wisdom and compassion. As Okenwa and Adako's friendship blossomed, they found themselves spending more and more time together. One day, Okenwa decided to do something special for Adako. He wanted to show her how much she meant to him. He asked if she would like to go to a nice restaurant with him that evening, and Adako eagerly agreed. That evening, Okenwa arrived at Adako's home to pick her up. He was dressed neatly and had a small bouquet of flowers in his hand. Adako looked beautiful in a simple but elegant dress. She accepted the flowers with a smile and a blush. They walked together to an expensive restaurant in the heart of Omunze, known for its delicious food and beautiful ambience. As they entered, Adako marveled at the elegant decor and the soft music playing in the background. They were seated near a window with a stunning view of the village. As they looked through the menu, Adako felt a bit overwhelmed by the choices, but Okenwa guided her, suggesting they start with some appetizers. They ordered a variety of dishes and enjoyed a delicious meal together, talking and laughing throughout the evening. Adako couldn't help but express how much she was enjoying herself, and Okenwa was pleased to see her so happy. After they finished their meal, they moved to a cozy corner of the restaurant to talk more privately. Okenwa decided it was time to share his feelings with Adako. He told her that he was falling in love with her and that she had become very special to him. Adako blushed and confessed that she felt the same way, admitting she had never met anyone like him. Their relationship grew deeper and they became inseparable. They shared their dreams and supported each other, with Adako feeling a sense of happiness she had never known before. Meanwhile, at the palace, the king and queen were making plans. They discussed their future and their son's responsibilities. King Ebeko mentioned that it was time for Okenwa to get married, as he was their heir to the throne and needed to start thinking about his future. Queen Agnes agreed, suggesting they discuss with him when he returns. Back in the village, Okenwa and Adako continued to enjoy their time together. They talked about their hopes and dreams, always supporting each other. Okenwa shared his dreams of helping the kingdom grow and prosper, and he wanted Adako by his side. Adako believed in him. Their bond grew even stronger, and one day, Okenwa decided to share a significant part of his life with Adako. He told her that he wasn't just any young man from the village, but was in fact Prince Okenwa, the heir to the throne of Umunze kingdom. Adako was shocked at first, but quickly reassured Okenwa that her feelings for him remained unchanged. Adako appreciated his honesty, and Okenwa felt a wave of relief knowing she accepted him for who he was. Their bond deepened further, and they prepared for the future with hope and determination, knowing they could face any challenges together. As Okenwa and Adako's relationship continued to flourish, they looked forward to a bright future filled with love, dreams, and the promise of making a positive difference in their kingdom. Their journey was just beginning, the both of them ready to take on whatever life had in store for them, hand in hand. When Okenwa learned about his parents' plan for him to get married, he decided it was time to introduce Adako to them. He knew he wanted to spend his life with her, and he was ready to tell his family. Adako, I want you to meet my parents, Okenwa said one day. I want them to know the woman I love. Adako was nervous but agreed. Okay, Okenwa, I trust you. They arranged a dinner in the palace. Adako dressed in the best clothes, feeling both excited and anxious. As they arrived at the palace, Adako couldn't help but feel a strange connection to the palace. The grandeur of the palace, the beautiful gardens, and the majestic halls made her feel both awed and uneasy. The palace staff welcomed them warmly, and they were led to the dining room. The table was elegantly set, and the aroma of delicious food filled the air. Okenwa's parents, King Ebeko and Queen Agnes, were already seated waiting for them. Mother, father, this is Adako. Okenwa introduced her with a smile. Welcome, Adako, Queen Agnes said kindly. We are pleased to meet you. Thank you, Your Majesties, Adako replied, bowing slightly. It's an honor to be here. During dinner, the king and queen were impressed by Adako's manner and grace. She spoke politely, her words measured and thoughtful. The meal was filled with pleasant conversation, but Adako couldn't shake the feeling of familiarity. Who are your parents in Umunze? Queen Agnes asked kindly as they enjoyed their food. My mother is Oledo, Adako replied. She used to work in the palace many years ago. King Ebeko's face turned pale. He set his spoon down and looked at Adako with wide eyes. Which Oledo? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. The one who served in the palace, Adako answered, feeling confused by the sudden tension. Everyone was surprised, but King Ebeko was in shock. Memories of the past flooded his mind, and he could barely control his emotions. He excused himself hastily and went into their room, his heart pounding. Queen Agnes, his wife, followed him, sensing that something was terribly wrong. Inside the privacy of their room, King Ebeko knelt down before her, tears welling up in his eyes. Agnes, I need to confess something. He began, his voice breaking. Years ago, I wronged Oledo. I forced her into situations she didn't want to, and I threatened her. I took advantage of her. She left the palace because of me. Queen Agnes was stunned. She sat down, her face pale and shocked. What are you saying, Ebeko? It is true, he continued. I never know she had the child. Our child. I am responsible for Adako. As they were still talking, Prince Okenwa entered the room. Having sensed the tension, he heard his father's confession and was heartbroken. Father, how could you? Okenwa asked, his voice filled with pain. Queen Agnes, still in shock by her husband's confession. She never imagined he had such past. Ebeko looked at his son with sorrow. Okenwa, Adako, she's your half-sister. Her mother is Oledo, the maid I wronged many years ago. Okenwa was heartbroken. He had fallen in love with Adako, and now he learned that she was his sister. He left the room, feeling devastated. The weight of the revelation crushed him, and he felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and confusion. When Adako got home, she told her mother everything that had happened. Mom, I didn't know Okenwa was the prince, she said, tears in her eyes. Oledo's mind went straight to Ebeko's son. She quickly asked, which king? King Ebeko of Umunze kingdom. Adako replied. Oledo was broken. She remembered everything she went through in the king's hands. She had no choice but to open up to her daughter about her past. Adako, I am very sorry, Oledo said, tears streaming down her face. The king wronged me. The king took advantage of me, and now you are caught in the middle. Adako felt a deep sadness for her mother. She hugged her tightly, promising to stand by her. Mom, it's not your fault. We will get through this together, she said, trying to comfort both herself and her mother. Oledo sighed deeply and began to tell her story. Many years ago, when I worked at the palace, the king forced me into a situation I didn't want. He got me pregnant and denied it, even to the extent of telling me to abort the child. I refused, and after my mother's death, I had to leave the palace. He threatened me and made me feel powerless. I had no choice but to leave when I found out I was pregnant with you. I never thought this past would come back to affect you. I am so sorry, my child. Adako listened, her heart breaking for her mother. Mama, you are so strong. I am proud of you for raising me and doing everything you did just to protect me. Back at the palace, Queen Agnes was heartbroken. The revelation of King Ebeku's past had shaken her deeply. She loved her husband, but the betrayal was hard to bear. After much thought, she decided that the only way she could forgive him was if he made things right with Oledo. She told King Ebeku, "The only way I will forgive you is if you marry Oledo and make things right." King Ebeku knew he had to correct his past mistakes. The guilt and regret weighed heavily on him, and he knew that taking responsibility for his actions was the only way forward. He agreed to his wife's condition, understanding the gravity of his past actions and the need to seek forgiveness. King Ebeko began making arrangements to visit Oledo's family to beg for forgiveness. He knew this would not be easy, but it was necessary for healing and moving forward. He gathered his family and some elders who were respected in the community to accompany him. They all understood the importance of this visit and supported the king's decision to make amends. One sunny afternoon, the king, his family, and some elders went to Oledo's house. The atmosphere was tense as they approached her doorstep. Feeling the weight of their mission, they knew this visit was not just about seeking forgiveness, but also about uniting their families and healing old wounds. King Ebeko took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Oledo opened it, surprised to see the king, queen, and elders standing there. Her heart was heavy with memories of the past, but she remained calm. "Oledo," King Ebeko began, "I have come to ask for your forgiveness. I have wronged you many years ago, and I am deeply sorry." Oledo looked at the king, her emotions swelling. She remembered the pain and fear she had endured, but she also saw the sincerity in his eyes. She could see that he was genuinely remorseful. The queen stepped forward, her face filled with compassion and hope. "Oledo, we are here to make things right. We want to unite our family and move forward. We understand that this will not be easy for you. I know it will not be easy for you to erase it all, but we hope it will bring some healing." The elders, who had already been wise and fair, spoke kindly. They acknowledged the pain Oledo had gone through and expressed their support for her. They asked for her forgiveness and understanding, emphasizing the importance of unity and moving forward together. After a long discussion, Oledo felt a sense of relief. She had carried the burden of her past for many years, and now she saw a path of healing. She forgave the king, knowing it was the best way to move on and create a brighter future for herself and her daughter. The process of forgiveness was not easy. It required patience, understanding, and a willingness to let go of the past. But Oledo knew that holding on to the pain would only hinder her and Adako's happiness. By forgiving the king, she was choosing to free herself from the shadows of the past. The visit ended in a hopeful note. Oledo and the royal family had taken the first steps towards healing and unity. The elders offered their continued support, ensuring that both families could work together to build a brighter future. Back at the palace, the atmosphere was lighter. There was still much to be done, but the first and most crucial step had been taken. King Ebeko was grateful for the chance to make amends, and Queen Agnes felt a renewed sense of hope for her family. Oledo too felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She knew there would be challenges ahead, but with the support of her family and the royal family, she felt more hopeful about the future. She had forgiven the king, and in doing so, she had also found a way to begin healing herself. And so, both families began the journey of healing and unity, guided by forgiveness, understanding, and the hope of a better future. The kingdom of Umunze too saw this act of forgiveness as a powerful example of the strength and compassion needed to overcome past wrongs and build a beautiful, bright future for everyone. The king visited Oledo's house again with his kinsmen and some of Oledo's uncles on that fateful day, with the good intentions of proposing to Oledo. The atmosphere was filled with a sense of anticipation and hope. The village elders and family members gathered around, witnessing a moment that would change their lives forever. King Ebeko knelt before Eledo, a gesture that showed his sincere remorse and commitment to making things right. He assured her to marry him and become his queen. Oledo looked into his eyes and saw the genuine remorse and determination to correct his past mistakes. Tears welled up in her eyes as she nodded, accepting his proposal. The news of their engagement spread through the village quickly. It brought hope and unity to the people of Umunze. They saw this union as a symbol of forgiveness, healing, and new beginnings. The villagers celebrated with joy, understanding that this marriage would bring about positive change for their community. Preparations for the grand wedding began immediately at the palace. The palace staff worked tirelessly to ensure everything was perfect for the big day. Decorations were hung and the flowers were arranged. The entire palace was transformed into a place of beauty and celebration. Queen Agnes played a significant role in the preparations. She was a kind and good queen who always stood by her husband and never tolerated unfair treatment of people. Her strength and compassion had been a source of comfort and guidance for many in the kingdom. Despite the pain and betrayal she felt from her husband's past actions, she chose to support him in his efforts to make amends. She understood the importance of forgiveness and unity. Oledo was deeply grateful to Queen Agnes. Throughout this challenging time, Queen Agnes has shown Oledo kindness and support. She never once judged Oledo and instead offered her a hand of friendship and understanding. Oledo appreciated the queen's fairness and generosity, knowing that she played a crucial role in making the union possible. As the wedding day approached, the excitement in the village grew. People from all corners of Umuze gathered to witness the union of their king and Oledo. The wedding was a grand affair filled with music, dance, and laughter. The village celebrated not just the marriage, but the new chapter in their history that this union symbolized. Prince Okenwa and Adako had no choice but to accept each other as siblings. They faced their emotions and supported each other, knowing that their bond was still strong. Although their relationship had changed, their love and respect for each other remained unwavering. They found comfort in knowing that they could still be there for each other, even in this new capacity. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. King Ebeko and Oledo stood together, surrounded by their families, friends, and the people of Umunze. They exchanged vows, promising to support and cherish each other. The vows were not just words, but a commitment to a future built on honesty, respect, and love. After the ceremony, the celebration continued with feasting and dancing. The entire village joined in, rejoicing in the happiness of their king and new queen. It was a day of joy and unity, a day that marked the beginning of a brighter future for everyone in Omunze. Oledo felt overwhelmed with gratitude. She was grateful to King Ebeko for his sincere efforts to make amends, to Queen Agnes for her unwavering support and kindness, and to the people of Umunze for their acceptance and joy. She knew that this union was a step towards healing old wounds and building a stronger, more united community. As the night drew to a close, King Ebeko, Queen Agnes, and Oledo stood together, looking out over the celebrating village. They felt a deep sense of peace and hope for the future. They knew that despite the challenges they had faced, they were now on a path towards healing and unity. The kingdom of Umunze thrived under the leadership of King Ebeko, Queen Agnes, and Queen Oledo. Their story became a testament to the power of forgiveness, the strength of unity, and the importance of compassion. The people of Umunze looked to their leaders with pride and hope. knowing that they were guided by love and wisdom. And so, the story of King Ebeko, Queen Agnes, and Queen Oledo, Prince Okenwa and Adako continued, filled with love, happiness, and promise of a brighter future. The lesson in this story reflects a profound truth that resonates deeply with real life experiences. Actions have consequences, and the choices we make, especially those driven by power and selfishness, can have long lasting impact not only on our lives but also on the lives of others. King Ebeko's initial misuse of power and mistreatment of Oledo created a ripple effect that brought pain and suffering to both families. It highlights the importance of accountability, compassion, and respect in all our interactions. In real life, individuals must be cautious and mindful of their actions, understanding that what goes around comes around. Treating others with kindness and fairness can build a foundation of trust and unity, while selfish and harmful actions can lead to regret and need for difficult reparations. This story serves as a reminder that integrity and empathy are crucial in creating a just and supportive society where forgiveness and healing are possible, but only if we acknowledge our wrongs and strive to make things right. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures, where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonder, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.